Federal government grants payment waiver to visitors, migrants affected by restriction of international travel. All Progressives Congress condemns emerging crimes in parts of the country, describes them as opportunistic. Plus, magistrate court convict 3 persons for violating lockdown regulations in Ilorin. Good evening and welcome to Channel 12 News on Nta Abeokuta. My name is Nta. Many thanks for being there. The Ogun State government has intensified its three-dimensional approach of compulsory usage of face masks, mass testing, and strict adherence to lockdown directive to contain the spread of coronavirus pandemic in communities across Ogun State. Lekun Abode reports.
The global challenge of coronavirus pandemic continues to take its toll on people, government, and stakeholders in communities are making concerted efforts to curb the menace. In Ogun State, for instance, a lot is being done, particularly being the state with record of the very first index case in Nigeria, although the initial cases were traced to people with travel history from countries like Europe and America. The most recent cases in Ogun State has proven that the virus is also in Nigeria and, of course, can escalate within communities if not nipped in the bud. This worrisome situation is the reason government and stakeholders are working tirelessly to ensure everything is put in place to curtail community transmission.
As you know, His Excellency President Nta Abeokuta has recommended that everyone wears a mask when they're in public. And we are going to start testing everyone to see the prevalence in the society. And also, the lockdown is a way of constraining community spread.
Meanwhile, as a way of enforcing the stay-at-home order, some indigenes of the state have engaged in door-to-door distribution of food packages to ameliorate the sufferings. Former governor of the state, Ibekule Amosun, and Dr. Adeleke Oluwadairo, a medical practitioner who lived and worked in Canada for over 28 years, are among those who have touched the lives of people at this critical time.
I'm using this opportunity to really reach out to my colleagues, especially the nurses and doctors, that when you return from work, first of all, disinfect yourself. Have a shower before you start to integrate with your family.
While government is not resting on its oars in the fight against the pandemic, Nigerians must obey rules on COVID-19 advice to stay safe and also allow the Nigerian government to totally eradicate the virus from the fabrics of the country. In Abeokuta, Lekun Abode.
President Muhammadu Buhari has been commended for granting some inmates of correctional centers presidential pardon nationwide to decongest prisons as part of efforts to contain the spread of coronavirus in the country. The Nta Abeokuta His Royal Majesty Oba Adedapo Joshua gave the commendation while distributing food items to vulnerable and senior citizens in Ogun State. Nuclear Advisor's report is presented in this package. Items distributed include 20 bags of 50 kg rice, 20 bags of 200 kg of gari, 10 bags of beans, over 250 cartons of noodles, 40 bags of salt, bags of onions, and over 2,500 face masks, as well as financial assistance to 600 aged people. The Nta His Royal Majesty Oba Adedapo Joshua, while distributing the items to representatives of the different townships for our distribution to the people, not only under his kingdom but other kingdoms in Ebeland, said the gesture will go a long way to cushion the effect of lockdown on residents.
We will get over this COVID-19 in Jesus' name. Those of us who survive it, and I pray that all of us will survive it. The government has set some rules now, rules that you should wash your hands, sanitize your hands, do everything possible, wear your mask, keep your distance, 6 feet apart, no handshaking. That way you will prevent this COVID-19 spreading.
The rear father, who is also the chairman, Prison Rehabilitation Mission International, commended governments and individual efforts towards the containment of COVID-19, including the release of some prison inmates nationwide. He enjoined Nigerians to follow all laid down instructions towards the containment of the dreaded virus.
Condemned prisoners who were housed here in Abeokuta. 6 of them applied to us, but we thank God that he made an appeal to the president, who amongst the 2,600 prisoners that he released, all the 8 in Abeokuta were also released. There are people who are condemned to death, later on transmitted to life imprisonment, and now they have become free men.
He advised Nigerians to use this period of staying at home to reconcile with God, while urging government to declare a national day of prayer for the country. The Yanide of Yoruba Land Chief Mrs. Alabalosin, who described the traditional ruler as a leader par excellence, enjoined people to always give to the less privileged, as such can bridge the gap between the poor and the rich.
The initiative by Babesi, followed by the distinguished chiefs that have carried this out, is one of the mission. And so we want to say, Babesi, right here, we thank you as a good leader from our community.
Chiefs expressed their profound gratitude and prayed God to reward the donor abundantly. A noble example of leading by example there. Moving on, the Yobe State Command of the Nigerian Police has appealed to philanthropists and public-spirited individuals who may wish to make donations to the vulnerable in the society to liaise with the divisional police officers of their areas for protection of such relief materials. A statement by the police public relations officer in Yobe State, Abimbola Oyemi, says the measure becomes necessary to prevent hijacking of the food items and possible breakdown of law and order. The Commissioner of Police, Kenneth Edmondson, directed the POs to always provide adequate security whenever the need arises and also at venues of such distributions. Visitors and migrants affected by the federal government order restricting international travels are to be issued with relevant extension at no cost. These include those holding valid passports, valid visitor's pass or residence permit with confirmed return ticket originally scheduled to travel out within the period of the international travel restriction. This is to enable the beneficiaries to schedule their flight and travel within 1 week of embargo being lifted by the federal government. A statement by the Nigerian Immigration Service Public Relations Officer, Sunday James, indicates, however, that migrants and visitors whose permit or visitor's pass expired before the restriction order must pay for overstay relevant for the period and the penalty it attracts. Furthermore, anyone who stays beyond the waiver period whenever the restriction is lifted by the federal government is to promptly comply by paying for overstay. Osun State Governor Boyega Oyetola has announced a 2-week ongoing statewide lockdown to combat the spread of COVID-19 in the state. Oyetola announced this during a broadcast to the people of the state. He, however, relaxed the lockdown for 2 days for people to restore their houses. Femi Aforogun has details of the report.
2 weeks ago, Osun State government locked down the entire state and also closed its boundaries with neighboring states following the increasing rate of confirmed cases of COVID-19. The 14-day extension, as explained by the governor, which commences midnight of Thursday, is due to the current situation in the state, which does not support a suspension of the lockdown.
We are here the negative effects of the lockdown in the federal economy. As a responsible government, we will not sacrifice the lives and security of people on the altar of the economy. Consequently, in order to ensure total defeat of coronavirus in Osun, we shall extend lockdown by another 14 days. But to allow people to restock, the lockdown is suspended between Wednesday 15th and Thursday 16th April 2020.
Life has returned to major streets and markets in Osogbo following the 2-day suspension of lockdown by Governor Boyega Oyetola to allow residents of Osun to restock their houses. They want us to be safe, not to be affected by the coronavirus. But at the same time, hunger can kill also. The 2 days that they gave us is not even enough. Just look at the markets. What they are selling is maybe times 2 or times 3 of what they have sold before.
Government also promised to continue with the provision of palliatives for the poor and the vulnerable to cushion the effects of the total lockdown in Osogbo. Femi Afayogun, Nta News.
Many thanks, Femi. And in Kwara State, a magistrate court sitting in Ilorin has sentenced 3 persons to 1 month's community service for violating lockdown regulations as imposed by the government to curtail the spread of COVID-19 in the state. Abdulhafiz Alaya reports that the convicts were tried under Kwara State Infectious Disease Emergency Prevention Regulation 2020 and Penal Code. His report.
The accused are Amos Philip, Babangida Delta Team, and Baraye Abel. They were arrested by men of the Nigerian Police Force on Tuesday around Solid area Ilorin, engaging in commercial activities contrary to the lockdown directive. The accused must explain why they should not be convicted on a 3-count charge of not complying with restriction order, obstruction of a public servant in the line of duty, as well as disobedience to duly promulgated order. They all pleaded guilty as charged and prayed that the court temper justice with mercy. Magistrate Sani Bio in his ruling convicted and sentenced them to 1 month community service without an option of fine. The convicts are to sweep the premises of the State High Court from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day, beginning from Thursday. What is the implication of this non-custodial sentence?
The effect is that it will decongest the prison and it will serve as deterrent to others by saying people maybe sweeping, giving them community service, say people sweeping, putting them on parole, probation, or restorative services.
Not leaving anything to chance, anybody coming into the court premises to thorough temperature check. Sanitary facilities were also put in place in line with COVID-19 prevention regulation. This is the first set of offenders to be arraigned under the State Infectious Diseases Emergency Prevention Regulation 2020. From Kwara State High Court premises, Abdulhafiz Alaya, Nta News.
Many things, Abdulhafiz. You're still watching Channel 12 News on Nta Abeokuta. We'll take a breather now. I'll come back with more reports. Stay with us.
Welcome to our wonderful world of data. These incredible numbers can improve your network nationwide. Unlimited.
Whenever you notice or experience leakage of gas steps, first, turn off the knob of your gas cylinder, turn off the gas burner, put off filament light bulbs in the kitchen and open the windows widely for ventilation.
In the event of fire outbreak occasioned by liquefied petroleum gas, do not attempt to use water to quench the fire. If possible, turn off the knob of the gas cylinder. Use fire blankets to cover the fire and use the appropriate fire extinguisher if you're trained to do so.
If the fire becomes uncontrollable, evacuate the building immediately and call the fire service or other appropriate agency for help. Think safety first. always.
This message is brought to you by the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, Abeokuta Field Office, Ogun State.
The All Progressive Congress APC has assured Nigerians that the emerging opportunistic crimes that have been recorded in some parts of the country as a result of the coronavirus pandemic lockdown will soon be brought under check. The party spokesperson Larry Isarelu in a statement says the key responsibility of government remains ensuring the safety and security of lives and property of all citizens from the renewed and intensified Boko Haram counterinsurgency and the enhanced offensive against emerging crimes in other parts of the country. The APC says, in line with the directive of President Muhammadu Buhari during his broadcast on Monday, a major and coordinated offensive by the police, army, Navy, Air Force, and Directorate of State Services (DSS) is underway against the miscreants. While the government and private concerns are doing their best to provide relief, the governing party believes that all Nigerians have a responsibility to protect themselves and communities from miscreants. The statement acknowledged the country's success in tracking and testing of suspected cases and generally containing further spread of COVID-19. The APC is confident that the fight against the global pandemic will be won soon and all will be able to return to their normal lives and activities. That's the size of our package for tonight. Many thanks for watching. My name is Nta Abeokuta. Good night.
Ìjọba àpapọ̀ fún àwọn arìnrìn-àjò tí ìséde mú láǹfààní àti lo ìwé ìrìn-àjò láì san owó mìíràn lẹ́yìn tí ìséde bá parí. Ilé-ẹjọ́ májísírèètì ṣe ìdájọ́ iṣẹ́ ìlú fún àwọn mẹ́ta tí wọ́n lùfin ìséde. Ẹ̀kálẹ́, Olúwakẹ́mi Ọ̀rúnṣolú Síkírù ní orúkọ tèmi. Ìròyìn náà rèé lẹ́kùnrẹ́rẹ́. Ìjọba ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn ti tẹnpẹlẹ mọ́ ìpinnu rẹ̀ láti rí pé lílo ohun ìbòmú àti pípa òfin kónílé-gbélé-mọ́ pẹ̀lú àyẹ̀wò tó múnádóko fún ará ìlú di mímúṣẹ láti túbọ̀ rí ọwọ́ kòkòrò COVID-19 bọlẹ̀ ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn. Akọ̀ròyìn wa Lékan Agbọ́dẹ ló mú ìròyìn bọ̀. Ó jábọ̀ ìròyìn pé ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn oríṣiríṣi ìgbésẹ̀ ló ti wáyé láti dẹ́kun ìtànkálẹ̀ àrùn náà láwùjọ. Àmọ́ ní báyìí ìkànpá yóò wà láti rí pé àwọn olùgbé ń pa òfin gbogbo mọ́ láti rí pé ààbò tó péye wà fún ẹ̀mí àti dúkìá ẹnìkọ̀ọ̀kan. Oríyìn ti lọ sọ́dọ̀ aláṣẹ Muhammadu Buhari fún bí ó ti ṣíjú àánú wo àwọn kan tó wà ní ọgbà atúnikọ́ gbogbo káàkiri orílẹ̀-èdè yìí láti mú ẹ̀dínkù bá àrùn COVID-19 láwùjọ. Ọ̀ṣìlẹ̀ ti Òkè Ọ̀nà Ẹ̀gbá ọba Adédàpọ̀ Tẹ́júoṣó ló gbóríyìn fún aláṣẹ Muhammadu Buhari bí ọba aládé náà ti na ọwọ́ ìfẹ́ sí àwọn èèyàn ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn. Akọ̀ròyìn wa Lukman Adéfẹ̀sọ jábọ̀ ìròyìn pé ọba Adédàpọ̀ Tẹ́júoṣó ṣàlàyé nínú ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ pé ìrànwọ́ yìí yóò kó ipa tó pọ̀ nínú ìgbáyégbádùn àwọn èèyàn ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn. Ọba aládé náà gbóríyìn fún ìjọba àti ìgbìyànjú àwọn èèyàn kọ̀ọ̀kan láwùjọ láti mú ìgbélé náà rọrùn fún àwọn èèyàn ìlú. Ó ké sí àwọn ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè yìí láti fìdí mọ́lé kí wọ́n sì fi àkókò náà bá Ọlọ́run làjà kí orílẹ̀-èdè yìí lè rí ojú rere rẹ̀. Ìyálóde ilẹ̀ Yorùbá Olóyè Àlàbá Lọ́sìn rọ àwọn tí Ọlọ́run rọ̀ lọ́rọ̀ láti túbọ̀ ṣe ìrànwọ́ fún àwọn mẹ̀kúnnù. àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ àǹfààní ètò náà wọ́n dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ọba aládé ọ̀hún. Iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn ti rawọ́ ẹ̀bẹ̀ sí àwọn tí Ọlọ́run bùkún láwùjọ àti àwọn èèyàn kọ̀ọ̀kan tó nífẹ̀ẹ́ ọmọlàkejì rẹ̀ tó sì ṣetán láti ṣe ìrànwọ́ fún àwọn aráàlú láti rí i pé wọ́n fi ìgbésẹ̀ náà tó iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn létí láti pèsè ààbò fún wọn, àwọn èèyàn àti ohun tí wọ́n fẹ́ pín àti ààyè tí wọ́n ti fẹ́ pín nǹkan ọ̀hún kí àwọn kọlọ̀rọ̀ sí ẹ̀dá má bàa já ètò náà gbà mọ́ wọn lọ́wọ́. Nínú àtẹ̀jáde tí alukoro iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn DSP Abímbọ́lá Oyèyẹmí fi sóde, ó ṣàlàyé pé ìgbésẹ̀ náà ṣe pàtàkì láti dènà rírú òfin lákòókò náà. Bákan náà, ọ̀gá ọlọ́pàá Kenneth Ebrison pa láṣẹ fáwọn DPO láti rí i pé wọ́n pèsè ààbò tó péye ní gbogbo àkókò tí ìpè bá ti béèrè fún àti pàápàá ní àwọn ààyè tí wọ́n ti ń pín nǹkan gbogbo. Ìjọba àpapọ̀ ti pàṣẹ wípé gbogbo àlejò tàbí arìnrìn-àjò tó perégedé pẹ̀lú tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì àti padà lọ́wọ́ torúkọ wọn sì ti wà nínú ìwé àkọsílẹ̀ wípé wọn yóò rin ìrìn àjò ní àkókò tí òfin kónílé-ó-gbélé wáyé wípé yóò fún wọn ní àǹfààní àti gba ọjọ́ ìrìn àjò mìíràn láì san owó kankan ní kété tí òfin kónílé-ó-gbélé bá ti kásẹ̀ nílẹ̀. Èyí jẹyọ nínú àtẹ̀jáde tí alukoro iléeṣẹ́ tó rí sí wíwọlé àti jíjáde lórílẹ̀‐èdè yìí fi sóde, ìyẹn DCI Sunday James, fìdí ẹ̀ múlẹ̀ pé àwọn tí ìwé wọn ti wá sí òpin ṣáájú àkókò ìkéde kónílé-ó-gbélé kò ní lo àǹfààní yìí, nígbà tí àwọn tí wọ́n ní àǹfààní pàápàá gbọ́dọ̀ lo àǹfààní ọ̀hún ní kété tí òfin kónílé-ó-gbélé bá ti wọ̀. Ilé-ẹjọ́ májísírèètì nílùú Ìlọrin ti ṣe ìdájọ́ fún àwọn èèyàn mẹ́ta tí wọ́n tà lé wípé kí wọ́n lọ ṣe iṣẹ́ ìlú fún oṣù kan gbáko. Akọ̀ròyìn wa Abdulhafiz Aláyà jábọ̀ ìròyìn pé àwọn ẹni ọ̀hún ni wọ́n ṣe ìdájọ́ wọn lábẹ́ òfin ìpínlẹ̀ Kwara tó ń rí sí ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ àjàkálẹ̀ àrùn pàjáwìrì. Iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá ìpínlẹ̀ náà ló rọ́wọ́ tó àwọn arúfin ọ̀hún. Àwọn arúfin ọ̀hún pàápàá sọ pé àwọn jẹ̀bi ẹ̀sùn tí wọ́n fi kàn wọ́n, bí onídàájọ́ náà ti dájọ́ pé kí wọ́n máa gba ilẹ̀ àyíká ilé ẹjọ́ fún oṣù kan gbáko. So ìròyìn wa fún ti àṣálẹ́ yìí kò ní jù báyìí lọ. Ẹ má gbàgbé wípé ẹnìkọ̀ọ̀kan wa ní a lè kópa tó jọjú láti orí ọwọ́ COVID-19 bọ̀lẹ̀ ní àyíká wa. Ó dàárọ̀, òun rèé lásì.